Okay, well, let's go. I'm busy, I gotta, I can't care about that. That's too big of a project for me to get involved in. Oh, these people, they're never accountable. There's nothing we can do about it, so we'll just go on our daily lives. And then the economic 9/11, and then the bio 9/11, the sequel to 9/11, whatever they're planning, nuclear 9/11, cyber 9/11. The Obama administration has a cyber security, again, remember that's control, a Cyber Control Act running out, not voted on, not debated, and you don't get to know about it. And one of the things, of course, they're going to do is look at people like Richard Gage and some of the speakers you see here, myself, maybe some of you, and determine if our websites are inspiring terrorism. Should we be shut down? Should we be censored? Should we be monitored? Who should we be accountable to? Right now there's a campaign running by the FCC, the radio police, my mortal enemies. Sebastian Janikowski, the head of the FCC now, an old college chum of Cousin Barry. They want to save the internet from the corporations by writing laws. No laws currently exist on the internet. It's the Wild West for the most part. Sure, there are some things that happen in the Wild West. Sometimes people get hurt. Freedom can be messy sometimes. So there's not even an actual problem, yet they've already got the solution. Interestingly enough, when you have cyber terrorism, there's no way to really prove it. You just have to take their word for it. There's no physical evidence, there's no body, there's no pulverized dust, there's no eyewitnesses. They just tell you, you got hit, and you got to trust them, and then they've already got these solutions because they have an Internet Patriot Act already written, just like they had the other Patriot Act already written long before 9/11. So the first problem, of course, is that people won't acknowledge that there was a crime. Now, even those who dare, those in power, to call them politicians, whatever you want, who are good people, who understand what happened and probably know more than they're letting on. Even those people are afraid to move forward and to serve justice because they're afraid it will completely undermine the government. The confidence that we all have in the government, that's at an all-time high, right? You might want to look out your window, a congressman, senator, those pitchforks and those torches are meant for you. But no, we can't impeach a president. This was the problem with impeaching Bush. A lot of the Democrats who have been in power, let's remember, since 2006, legitimately 2007, 3 years. We don't want to impeach Bush for the myriad of crimes, let alone 9/11, because it would shake people's confidence in the government, and we can't have that. Again, look around. There is no more confidence in the government. So we've got to send a message to our elected officials, to the people in power, the people with investigatory powers, that if they don't investigate this, there's not going to be any government left. There isn't going to be anyone to believe anything the government says anymore. And as I mentioned earlier, that leaves a vacuum for things like anarchy. The utopians will come along and give us world government, global socialism. And maybe that's the plan all along. To tear the country down so that it can easily be divided and added onto the heap pile that we call the New World Order or One World Government. God, I hope people don't deny what's going on there, because you simply look at the European Union, the Asian Economic Community, the African Union, and you understand that regional government is a reality. When you listen to, for instance, Ron Van Puy, I call him. He is the puppet head currently of the European Union, who came out here a month or two ago and said 2009 is the year of world government. We sealed it with the G20 in Pittsburgh, not because of what they did outside, what they did inside. Gave all of your economic decision power making to a foreign body. And then they added on top of that Copenhagen. We saw them in Copenhagen. That was a brilliant failure on their part. But they're openly talking about it. 2 years ago, as I mentioned on my radio program, the European Union had its 50th anniversary. Anybody hear of it until 1987? Because they didn't bother to tell anybody. The point I'm making is that NAFTA, GATT, CAFTA, and maybe soon the Free Trade Area of the Americas is the North American Union. So when we get down to it, these people probably don't want to investigate, they don't want any accountability, and they don't care if the government falls because they've already got a plan to fill the vacuum. I want to talk about the Federal Reserve a little bit here, because when we're talking about wars, we have to understand what General Smedley Butler said. War is a racket. No, not just one war here, one war there. All wars are a racket, and nobody was more committed to fighting for the corporations than Smedley Butler. By the way, I stopped a coup by Wall Street on FDR. Yeah, they went to him and tried to get him to overthrow and be the dictatorial president, and he wouldn't go with it. Pretended to go along, got all the evidence, gave the evidence to the powers that be, and that wasn't treason. Morgans, DuPonts, Rockefellers, still operating, still Pac-Manning everything in sight. Control your health care, control your education system, control your financial systems, control your communications, your media, and your government. What did Mayer, Anschell, Rothschild, Bauer say? I'm going to quote it twice in this speech, and this is the first one. Give me control of the nation's money supply, and I care not who makes the laws. What we have to understand about war is as long as war is profitable to the global super elite, I call them neo-pharaohs and their matrix moles, their water carriers. As long as war is profitable, as long as power can be gained, as long as hegemony can be forged, they will constantly go forward and do it. It doesn't matter what the reason is, what the excuse. You look at World War I with Ferdinand. I mean, was that the excuse to go into a massive world war and see millions of people die in the ditches? No. But it certainly worked out good for those who were loaning the money to the government to make the armaments to go to these wars. And this tracks right back, and we look at some of the things the Federal Reserve has done. It would be nice to know all the things they're doing, but they don't show us their books. In fact, when we ask to see their books and to audit the Federal Reserve, it's not federal, it has no reserves, by the way, they threaten us with economic terror. Oh, if the people lose the confidence in the Federal Reserve, inflation will go through the roof. Hello?
It's going through the roof anyway.
That's right. Their job is to cover up inflation, not to stop it, and to threaten you if you want to nose around in their books. How much interest do you pay to the Federal Reserve every year? Last I checked, it was estimated somewhere around $1.5 billion a day on top of extraneous loans and power moves. If we don't take these people down and stop these people and get rid of and end the Federal Reserve, we're going to continue having wars. We can end the Bank of England. We can end the Bank of International Settlements, the headquarters of all the central banks. What has the Treasury and Tinea Geithner said? What are these people saying? Well, in order to save the world, we must unify again. Central banks will get more central. Little banks that aren't chartered with the Federal Reserve, they go down. There's only something about 3,000 left. And they're highly prized targets. What if you had a local bank or even a state bank, you kept all your money in your state, all that rainy day money they're saving and letting Goldman Sachs use and profit from? What if you put that in the bank and loaned it back to your people? What if the people were self-sustaining in their communities and helped each other? I put money in the bank, you loan it to my neighbor, he can put an addition on his house.